Well, I have been going through a lot, as I've been writing about on my blog and writing about in articles and talking about on Facebook and on Twitter and in my newsletters, that I'm moving to Australia. And many of you may already know that. So what's pretty much been on my mind is, how the ways in which we move past fear, or move through fear, I should say. And, I really like to always share with you guys, like, what I'm going through in my life and how I'm getting through it. And when I was presented with this idea within myself about possibly moving out of the country, a bunch of things came up for me. A bunch of things like, oh, could I really do that? And then it was kind of like, well, actually, yeah, you really could do that. And it's like anytime we get the opportunity to do something that really could mean awesome possibility for us, we're gonna have to face all of the negative self-talk that comes up as a result, all the stuff that's driven by fear. And so that's where I've been. I have been on this major ride, facing my fears, walking through them, and every step of the way has been totally healing, completely healing, because ultimately, if you use your fear for a tool to facilitate deep healing within yourself and to actually get closer to what you want, it's really powerful. So, for example, if you think of something in your life that you've really, really wanted or really wanted to do, maybe you did it, maybe you didn't, maybe you got the thing, maybe you didn't, but I want you to think about what came up for you at the time, when you were faced with that big decision, or when, you had that choice, and you're like, what was it that you actually decided to do? And because I think so often fear stops us, that it stops us from being who we really are. It stops us from expanding and exploring. And one thing that kept coming up for me was, wow, like I had this feeling of losing all of this stuff that I've worked so hard for over these last 7 years in Los Angeles. And then I had to remember, and I have to keep reminding myself that I'm not going to lose anything. In fact, what's happening is that I get to take everything that I've worked so hard for the last 7 years, and I get to take it with me. And I get to expand upon everything I already know and all of the connections that I already have. And I get to meet more people. And I get to get a greater reach in my business, an international reach. And I get to embrace the unknown. And there's so much possibility in this decision. There's so much possibility that it just gets me jazzed. And that's the way that I choose to walk through this. I stay connected to my possibility. I stay connected to the opportunities, and I stay connected to the vision that gets created as a result of this possibility. However, the other flip side of that could be me getting behind and connecting to all of the fear stuff, which is, what if it doesn't work out? What if I get stuck over there? What if people forget about me here? What if my friends don't love me anymore? What if I miss my family too much? What if I just am a big fat failure and I just am this big loser who doesn't know what the hell, I'm doing with myself over there? All this crazy stuff comes up, right? And it's simply just fear. It has nothing to do with anything. Because ultimately, right, there's 50% chance that, the best case scenario, 50% chance of the worst case scenario. So really, we get to choose which one is going to motivate our choices in our lives. And it's 50-50. So, and for me, if you go with a 50% possibility, then it's a win-win, right? Because at least you know. Because for me, the worst feeling in the world is wanting to tell somebody how I feel and not doing it, or wanting to really try something and not doing it, or really feeling in my gut that I would be good at something and not giving it at least a shot. So I am encouraging all of you out there, no matter how big or small the fear, no matter how big or small the goal, that you walk through your fears, that you understand that Fear is just fear, and you don't have to be afraid of it. What I would rather you do, and what I encourage you to do now, and what I invite you to do, is to get connected to your possibility. Get connected to the idea that you can create and manifest and do anything you want, as long as you feel the fear and do it anyway. The only way we don't do those things is if we let the fear stop us. So I'm not letting the fear stop me. Absolutely not. I'm not saying I'm not afraid some days, because I definitely am, but regardless of the fear, I just keep moving. And regardless of the fear, I tell people how I feel. And because the most important thing for me is to heal and be authentic and live a life that is true to who I am. And I hope you're doing the same. So thank you so much for watching. Please contact me via Facebook or Twitter at FitGal, or on my email, erinlanahanmethod@gmail.com, or you can find me at erinlanahanmethod.com on my blog. Thanks so much for watching.